Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our next session. Today we have Jagdish, who is a Sitecore certified developer, and will speak on topic integrating Sitecore XM Cloud Content with Coveo using Next.js API. So, looking for a great session. Over to you, Jagdish.
Thank you. Thanks, Arjun. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining. Today we are going to look at how to integrate Coveo push source with Sitecore XM Cloud using a Next.js API. We'll talk about why we needed this, how it works, and the benefits we are going to see. So let's start. Let's go. Yeah. Okay. So here's what we're going to cover over the next 30 minutes or 40 minutes. A quick overview of how Sitecore and Coveo traditionally work together, and we'll discuss on traditional on-prem approach, then the new challenges that comes with Sitecore XM Cloud, and then I'll introduce a solution for this challenge, a custom API approach using an Next.js API. We'll dig into the key features of that API, what it actually does for us. After that, we will look at the specific endpoints and see examples how we can use them, and then how to configure, and then I'll walk you through with the demo, configurations, and how to run everything. And lastly, we can have a QA session. Okay, so to start with, Coveo for Sitecore on-prem. If you ever worked on-prem with Sitecore, integrating Coveo was basically a plug and play. We had the Coveo for Sitecore connector module that used to do most of the work for us. What it actually does for us, it would automatically create Coveo sources, and that were tied directly to our Sitecore indexes. It handled indexing on saving of any items and content publishing events. So like as soon as a content editor hit publish, anyone hits, if as soon as we hit the publish, it showed up in the search, because in the behind the scenes, it used to index for us and everything was in place. And if you ever needed a full rebuild, you could do that right from the Sitecore control panel. So overall, it was pretty seamless, and the connector actually took all the work from us. So this is how the Coveo for Sitecore on-prem worked. And then Sitecore XM Cloud. So now fast forward to Sitecore XM Cloud. Like XM Cloud is anyway, it's fantastic for many reasons, right? Like it's fully headless, it's cloud native, it's a SaaS product. So you don't have you don't have to worry about managing your own infrastructure, even though it has its own challenges. But yeah, like customizations and all, but you got many features. So but because it's headless, a lot of the traditional those traditional plugins pipelines goes away. So there is no longer traditional Sitecore web database that you can just point Coveo at, right? The old Sitecore index system doesn't exist in the same way. So there is no connector module as well. So, right, what happens? With that said, we lost that automatic indexing story. We can't just drop in Coveo module and let do its thing for us, and then we can just drag and drop the component, or we can have our own Coveo components using headless. So this is actually a common friction point for the teams moving from on-prem to XM Cloud, right? So we needed a new approach, like to solve, like how are we going to solve this problem? So we needed a new approach to get our content into Coveo. Let's see what will be the new approach. So the new approach is we're using a Coveo push API. Before in on-prem, we had a Sitecore as a source, but with the XM Cloud, that's not a story anymore. So the new approach is going to use Coveo push API. So how we can handle that? So here is like what I did. Instead of relying on a on-prem connector, I built a completely custom solution using Coveo's API. First, we manually create a Coveo push source. That's basically an empty bucket in Coveo where we can send the content. Then I built a custom API using Next.js in our case that extract content from Sitecore. We can use the layout service or GraphQL to get exactly what we want to get into Coveo. And finally, this API takes that structured content and pushes it directly into the Coveo push source. This way, it gives us more control over what goes into the index. From Coveo side, to push the content to Coveo, we need to have the source created and an API key associated with it. So then the Next.js API comes into picture. It picks up all the Sitecore content as how we configured using a layout service or GraphQL, and then it takes care of pushing your content to Coveo. And so how do you create Coveo push source? So there will be multiple sources, like it got REST API push and Salesforce source, many things. So I'm going to use just a push source, and I'll show you this in the demo. But yeah, so this is how you create a Coveo push source, and then we were talking about the Next.js API, right? So what are the features of the API? Let's get into what our API actually does. It can push all the items. It uses the Sitecore sitemap service to pull a list of all page items. So when I say all the items, we can configure what are the type of items we can, what are the template types of items we can push. So we can configure. So that's one of the thing, it can push all your page items in a single shot. So how it does, like Sitecore sitemap service, it pulls list of all the page items, then it processes each item and sends it to Coveo. The second one is it can push a single item by ID. So when a content has been changed on any page, so we can just immediately just index that particular item alone. So we don't need to again index all the items. So it has a feature, just supply your item ID, whatever the content, whatever the item content has been changed, then you can just supply that item ID to this API. It will be able to push that updated content, and it filters by template. For example, we might only index items based on page template, right? So we don't want to have your folders. We don't want to have your, you know, any out of the box templates, folders, and all. So let's say we might only want index based on the page template items. This way, we are not cluttering search with folders, settings, or navigation items. And then it respects a do not index field. What that means, I mean, right now in my app, my page template has this field do not index as checkbox. So if I set that to true, then the API will look for this particular field on that particular page item. So if this is set to true, then the Coveo will not index that, the API will not index that particular item. And even though previously it was indexed, this API again, it will go and delete because we said do not index to true. And it selectively extracts fields and components. What that means, we can definitely, like, we can define exactly which renderings we want to scan. Like by default, if you don't specify anything, it scans all your components and push the content. But yeah, you can just define, let's say I don't want hero banner, one of my component hero banner, I don't want that particular component content to not get into Coveo. I can configure. And at the same time, we can also configure which fields to send to Coveo. Like, let's say I don't want my particular field called text to go into Coveo. I can just configure that particular field name, and then this API will not send that particular field content to Coveo. This keeps our search results, focused and high quality. And then the one more interesting thing is it's a webhook ready. So we can hook it up to your Sitecore publish-end event to trigger pushes automatically, or we can make this an edge webhook, which gets triggered right after publishing. So when I say what is webhook ready setup with XM Cloud, I mean, like, again, I'll go back to on-prem. When you have any content changed, you save it and that will index to your master. And when you publish, that will index to, that will get indexed to your Coveo index. But with XM Cloud, when you publish, you don't have that feasibility. But again, the XM Cloud provides as a webhook setup, like where you can publish, an event will be triggered, that is publishing, and then you can make use of that particular event to hit this API and send that to hit this API. Then this API will go and index your content, like it will again rebuild index to your content which is updated. So that's webhook ready setup. And it also supports schedule jobs. We can use Vercel, example Vercel. If your Next.js app is hosted on Vercel, you can use Vercel cron jobs, and to run it nightly reindexing, ensure everything stays up to date. So this is kind of like on-prem your Sitecore tasks and schedulers. And yeah, let's talk about API endpoints and its usage. Let's see how simple it is actually to use. We expose a single endpoint at host, your host name slash API slash Coveo slash push. So this is your endpoint name, and it actually takes a couple of query parameters. One is push all equals to true. That means it will go get all your items and push that particular all your item content to Coveo. Then the second one is item ID. You just supply your item ID and that particular item content will get pushed to Coveo. And yeah, so how does it work? Push all fetches all items via Sitecore sitemap service. It processes each item, extracts only the fields and components we care about, and send them to Coveo. This is ideal for initial build of the index or for nightly jobs that keeps everything fresh. Now, this push specific item. This pulls just a single item, resolve its fields, and pushes it immediately to Coveo. We use this manually or in our publishing workflows. So when a page is published, we call this endpoint with that particular item ID. This way, it shows up in search without waiting for a full reindexing. Then, yeah, because of how flexible this API is, we can integrate it in both ways. Like, as a webhook on publishing, it triggers automatically whenever someone publishes a page in Sitecore. That means the content is in the search indexes almost immediately, right? Like, whenever you publish that content, the publishing job will run, as and when the publishing job completes, webhook will be triggered, and that webhook will call this API endpoint to get your updated content pushed to Coveo. We also have scheduled job using Versal cron that does nightly or weekly full push. This gives us a safety net, right? So even if something slips through the cracks and publish, it picked up by the next run. And then, so to sum it up, this approach gives us tailored indexing. We decide exactly what goes into Coveo, no bloat, no noise. Better relevance, because we pick the right fields and components, our search results are far more precise. And real-time indexing as well. Content author publishes and it's in search instantly. Now, let's go to the demo. I'll quickly just 1 second. Okay. How do you get this working? Okay, it should be in my GitHub. If I go here, yeah. The code base of the API is in this repo. This is public. I'll share this link in the chat after this session. So it has all the README content, whatever the features we discussed, API endpoint. So how do we configure everything? So this, it's all the code is there in this repo. I've cloned this repo, and then as and when you clone, there are few changes that you need to do. I mean, firstly, this app is talking to one of my XM Cloud instance. So whenever you're going to use this, you can just inject this API into your existing Next.js application. So right now, it's already talking to one of my Sitecore site name client prefix, and then by utilizing one of the edge context ID, and then there are like few environment variables we need to update. Coveo org ID, Coveo source ID, Coveo API key. We'll see how we can get this. So this is how, like, let's go and start getting these API keys. So if I go to platform.coveo cloud.coveo.com, let's start creating a new source. So I'll say add source. We are gonna get push source. We need to name the source. Maybe I'll say SUG Kolkata demo. And then project, this is optional, like based on your project which you are in, you can add this. Before that, let's also add API key, create an API key. So this is the key we needed. Basically, this key acts as authorization to your Coveo push source API. Like, the Coveo sees if the request comes from the, from the trusted resource or not. So that's why this kind of authorization key. So create an API key. This is to make content accessible to everyone. If not, you can just add your settings. But yeah, let's continue with the default things. Right. So this key meant to be private. Make sure to save it. You won't be able to see it. So this is the key we needed. So let's copy this key and change it in the Coveo API key. Let's put it in the env file. And then we need a couple of more, Coveo org ID and Coveo source ID. Let's say done. Now we got SUG Kolkata demo source created. Now, right, org ID. Org ID is nothing but after your organization, this could be your org ID, organization ID. So let's pick this organization ID and copy it here in the org ID. I know that could be the same. And Coveo source ID. Right after your sources slash, this is your source ID. Coveo source ID. That's all. So we need these three params. Everything is ready. So let's go and start this application using npm run start connected. It's getting started. Right. The app is now started to utilize. So let's go and pick now. Let's go to my content editor. So I want to again go ahead and let's start with one item. So let's say I want to push this content to to Coveo. I'll just need to. So your localhost 3000 slash API slash Coveo slash push and the query parameter item ID. Let's figure this. See, content pushed to Coveo successfully. And then let's go to logs. Now we should see the logs. SUG Kolkata demo. The demo page is getting added, streaming. So it's going to take a couple of minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. In the meantime, let's go and look at the code. So there are so the API is configured, your source, pages, API, Coveo, push, index.ts. So this is the API and you should have your handler function, right? So the execution starts from here. So it allows only post method. So if request is not post, we are sending method not allowed. And then it at least needs either of these parameters. One is at least item ID or push all parameter. If both are not there, your webhook item name. I mean, this is the I mentioned, right? We can make this webhook item ready. So that's where your webhook item name comes. So it at least looks for one of these three. And if it is there, then it continues. If not, you'll see a message called bad request. Now, language. You can also supply language from your query param. If it is there, it picks up. If not, the default language is English. And then if you supply your item ID, it picks up the item ID. And if it's a webhook name, it picks up the item ID from the webhook from where the event got triggered. So that's the webhook item name is push Coveo event. So yeah, if item ID is there, it looks for the template of that particular item we pushed. So why we need a template? Let's see. If I go to template names, if you see this, list the page template names here. All the items based on these templates will be pushed to Coveo. If template is not present, the item based on the template will be ignored. What that means? So I don't want my Coveo to get messed up with all of the all of the item content. So ideally what we generally take all your page items, right? So those are the templates. So I need to get, so right now the page is configured. Let's say you can have your article listing pages or news pages. So they are all will be your pages in your website. So we need that content, right? So that's why I made it configurable to include the required templates in the template names. Then it will only include those particular items into Coveo. The remaining all will be ignored. So right now, since this particular demo page is based on my page template and it sees that page is here, so that's how it goes. And so now I got my item ID template. If it matches with the template's name I configured, it will continue. If not, it will get me a message, this item is not a page template item. So yeah, we cross this check and then it gets me a layout data from the layout service factory. And once I got the layout data, I mentioned this, like, when you have when it sees the do not index field set to true, it will go and see if that item exists in the Coveo. If it's there, it will delete that particular document from Coveo. And if this do not index set to false, I mean it doesn't set with any value, it comes and process for the next one, that is document get content for item that we paused. So this needs layout data, and how it process, like how it gets the content from that particular item. Initially it scans all your renderings, and then so this will have all your renderings, whatever the renderings attached. The other thing I want to mention is the page item fields. So if I go to demo page, this has all these items, right? But at least for page item, the page item can have many fields, like your need fields, like title, content, and then it can have all your metadata fields, SEO, and other stuff, right? So I mean, we don't want all these fields to go into and make our Coveo index looks dirty. So that's why what I did was, only for the page template, I came up with the approach like what are the page templates that you needed. So if you see, list the fields to include for page item. So right now I just included title, and let's say if I need content, I can include the content for it, but I don't want any of these fields. This is for only applicable for the page item that we are gonna push. So now, since I only have the include page item fields in title, if you see, so the page item fields is page item fields, it will call a collect JSON values, which will take the inputs of all your route fields, and then it only takes the include page item fields, like whatever we have included. And if it's is page item, true. So it goes and call this collect JSON values. Here the magic happens here. It will go through each of the item field and then add your content, uh, and it respects everything. So if you observe, there are like few parameters. One is exclude fields, one is included fields. This included fields for page item, you see excluded fields. Let's go and talk about that. So excluded field, right? Exclude fields. Let's say I have this component, text one. Let's say banner, maybe banner could be a good example. So I have a couple of fields, title, content. Let's say I don't want my content field value to get into Coveo, then I can just simply add that field name in the exclude field. These are comma separated string array. You can add like whatever the field. If you want maybe something card, you don't want description, you don't want to get into, just add description. Just add the description. Yeah, so like this, you can just add the fields that you wanted to exclude, and then exclude component. There is one more, exclude components. So right now the demo page has these three components: fetch, example, hero, rich text. Let's say I don't want my rich text component to get indexed into Coveo. I can just say, just list out that particular component name in the excluded components. So that's all. Then if you go to the get content for Coveo item and collect JSON values, If you see, if it's excluded fields, if that particular field is present in exclude field, it will not continue. I mean, it will not go for the further logic to add. And if it's excluded fields, it continue for the next fields. And yep, then if it's not included in the excluded fields, it will continue adding all that field content into the a string into a bucket. This is kind of a string array. And once we get all the data, what I'm doing, I'm getting into a page item content, which is the page item content is nothing but the content from your page item fields. And then this content is nothing but all your rendering content. So finally, I'm getting that added to my string called content. And then I'm preparing a body for my Coveo push API. Coveo needs each document to have its own ID. So the host is nothing but your host of your Sitecore website, and the host plus the path, the item path, and the title. Currently, I'm utilizing title as a page title. Title field of page item. Then ID, data. The data is nothing but content. This content is all your extracted content from page item as well as your renderings, fields, etc., etc. So that's how it works. And then once I get this content item, I'm calling push to Coveo. This will take care of pushing all that particular document to Coveo. I'm constructing the Coveo push API URL, then triggering a Coveo push API URL with the required body, and then getting the response. So if it's responded properly, Coveo is, I'm getting the response properly. If it's not, failed to push document. So this is pretty much the high level code overview. And it's been quite a while that we pushed this particular content, right? Let's go and see it in the Coveo. So let's reload. Okay, SUG Kolkata. If I go to content browser, yep, SUG Kolkata demo has one particular one particular document, that is demo page, that comes from our Sitecore. One second. Yeah, so the title is nothing but the title. I mentioned it over here. Yeah, this is the title, host ID. Now let's observe few things. Let me get this to left, and this one gets into right. Yeah. So content browser. Right. So we got title, sample page edit. And then if you see content, anyway, there is nothing, no content, but since we only added title here, title we got. And now let's observe the description. So the description has sample page edit. That is your page item title field. So how we got this? If you see in the index, I mentioned, take my page item title field into the consideration. So that's why we saw the title being added to the content. Now let's see hero banner. So it has this particular rendering, right? If I go to presentation details, final layout, my hero rendering data source is local data hero. That's nothing but this guy. And this has nothing, but if I goes to banner, it has title and content field. So now if you see title has been added, that is hero banner over here, and the content is not there. The content value is hello, which is not there. Why? Because I excluded the field, the content field I excluded, which is been added in the excluded field string array. So that's why the content is not been added to the Coveo. And then there is one more component for this rich text, which the data source has local data text one text, which has a value test link. This didn't get into Coveo. Why? Because this is a rich text component which I said exclude, right? So that's why we are not seeing that particular restricts field content. Now let's do one more thing. Let's get this removed so that the restricts component data will get added. And also let's remove this content field. And now let's run this API again. So Coveo content pushed to Coveo successfully. Let's keep this like this, and now duplicate this, and we'll see how our data gets changed. 737. If I go to log browser, yeah, it's triggered, so it's doing its thing. It's consuming streaming. We'll give it a couple of minutes, and then we'll be able to see the different data based on the configuration that we did. Oh, no, it's still doing. Yeah, in the meantime, let me walk through what push all will do. So let's go back to handler. Yeah, so these are like when you see, yeah, if request.query.pushAll equals to true, it goes for this particular method push all pages. What it does, it picks up the sitemap service. It will go and look for all the page items from the sitemap service. And once it gets those pages, it will map through each of the page, gets the path, gets the layout data, and then again call this get content for Coveo, which is again goes for getting the content from your layout data and respects exclude fields, include page item fields, exclude your components, everything, and push it to Coveo. It's just I mean the same method, same functionality, but it will loop through for each of the page we got from the sitemap service. That's one. Let's see if this got changed. No, still. Okay, now it's consuming. It's gonna start now. There you go. So before the first instance, today 7:25 p.m. AM, you see sample page edit hero banner. Now you see sample page edit hero banner hello and test link. So now from where this hello came in, from this content. Earlier, I removed this, I added this field as a exclude fields, but the second time I removed that content field from the exclude fields. So that's why this hello has been added over here. Since this is a rich text editor, it has added that p tag, and the same goes with text one. Earlier, I have my rich text component in the excluded components, but then I removed, and then it added this the rich text component data into my Coveo source. So this is the test link. And yeah, this is the difference. So like this, you can configure like whatever you want, what the fields you need, what the templates you need, and what are the components you need. So like this, you can configure. And then I also added one more thing. If you see get content for Coveo. Yeah. So right now this doesn't have image field. Let's say, I mean, this image is kind of a basic requirement, right? When you have any search results page, you might have your a thumbnail image or hero image for that. So that's kind of case to case. So that's why I just left that image empty. I mean, no logic here. But if you see, I have added a field. I have added field called image. So based on the need, you can just add your image, and if it's from your layout field, so from the page item field, maybe if that field name is called something like this image, you can just add image, whatever the field name, and then get that source value so that you can have your image available in your Coveo source, and then utilize it for your Coveo search results query to show that in the what you call in the search results page. Yep, I think that's all. Um, Back to you, Arjun, and if any questions, happy to take.
Yeah, first of all, Jagdish, that was very informative. I would say that those who are going to integrate this Coveo, it will be very helpful for them. Um, any questions so far from anyone? Okay, let me see the chats. Um, okay, although this was discussed before, Sunil was asking, will this work for Sitecore XP as well? Jagdish, can you just put a light on that? That's just for
Yep, yep.
information.
Sure, thanks. So for Sitecore XP, like I don't really wanted to go with this push API and then have your API, I mean, have your this API configured everything, because for Sitecore XP, there is still the Coveo for Sitecore module is available and it works well. So I would still go with the on-prem approach. And like one thing I would say, maybe if you in the future, like if your roadmap is migrating from XP to Sitecore XM Cloud, then yeah, this should be a good one to start on it. And then when you turn it to XM Cloud, then you don't need to, again rework on these things. Everything is in place. You just, move your content to XM Cloud and provide and anyway, your Next.js app, whatever the app will be still talking to your XM Cloud, right? So you can just, everything will be in place. When you have that thought, like you're moving from XP to XM Cloud, this would be a good one. But yeah, without that, for a standalone XP, I would still go with the Coveo for Sitecore connector module.
Yes, Sunil.
Yeah, first thing is thank you for this wonderful session. It was kind of very knowledge specific. Only thing I wanted to understand is like right now, Hive, I guess Hive is the only one from Coveo which is for XP, and
Mm-hmm.
that is going to get deprecated. So is Coveo Atomic? I mean, if something comes across Coveo Atomic or Coveo Headless
Mm-hmm.
integration with
Right.
XP, that would be, I mean, if we get some light on that part, that would be great from legacy perspective. See, we are on XM Cloud either way. Everyone is trying to move towards XM Cloud, but
Right.
right now there is a migration happening. I mean, steadily people are trying to move. All the companies are slightly slowly moving towards headless step by step. So in this step process, they want to get integrations done before they get into. So that's where I had this question. So yeah, I mean, I agree to your point wherein they directly have ingestion as of now. Or
Mm.
and second thing is indexing is still in place there. Web and master thing still works with XP.
Right.
Wherein
Right.
here there is just one question from my side on XM part.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we have Sitecore search, which is doing Edge is where we are getting published, and
Correct.
Sitecore search is doing that indexing part.
Mm.
So Solar is no more in picture in XM Cloud. So on that note,
Mm-hmm.
it usually crawls the page and then gets the data. Now, how this area fits in of Coveo in that XM part is a kind of question for me. That's it.
Okay, so when you say like when you publish, Sitecore search is automatically getting crawled and it is getting the updated content. So how does that work in this scenario, right? If I understand it correctly.
I mean, how these two things work together, Coveo and Sitecore search. Because Sitecore search is the one who's doing that crawling part and
Mhm.
getting the data. So
Okay,
same, I mean, in short, it is indexing via page.
right.
Previously,
Mm-hmm.
item indexing was happening till XM,
Mm-hmm.
sorry,
Mm-hmm.
XP. In XM,
Mm-hmm.
it is page indexing that's going
Hmm.
on. So
Okay.
how we ingest this? What I see here is
Mm-hmm.
there was no option to have any item getting indexed via search, Sitecore search. That's where
Mm-hmm.
this push API is playing the role. Now, how Coveo and search, Sitecore search work together is bit kind of unknown area for me. That's it. So
Okay, I think I can put it in this way. So if you see for like XP, XM, like XP, you still have your Sitecore master index, right? Which again relies on your Solar. So it's still, it's even Sitecore search as well. Like, if it's doing its job, it's doing its job, right? Like, you can still utilize your Sitecore search or Solar for your search results page. But when it comes to Coveo, I mean, again, the Coveo for connector was doing its thing. When you publish, it was actually, indexing your master index, which is from Solar again, and then this is also taking place, right? It's getting the Coveo is also getting the updated content on your publish event. So in the same way, Sitecore search is still doing it. Like if it's doing its job, it's still doing it. And for here, I mean, with this Coveo, you can have your webhook enabled on your publishing that actually gets your content into Coveo. So if you are utilizing Sitecore search for your search results page, it's good. Like, you can just utilize that. But when it comes to Coveo, this is completely different, right? You're adding Coveo as part of your search layer, and you need to push your content into it and updated content. So that's where the webhook came in place for a Sitecore XM Cloud.
Yeah,
Does
thank
it
you very
answer your
much.
question? Mhm.
So, Chandan, do you have any question?
Yeah, I am having one question. So you are adding the webhook through the publishing, right? So in the Sitecore CMS, are you confirm the webhook which you just shown us? So is it added there in the Sitecore XM Cloud content tree?
Right now it's not added, but I can show you how we can add.
Okay.
Okay,
And
let's
the
say
second
system.
question is
Yeah.
that I know. So you are
Mhm.
getting the content in the webhook from the when you publish the event or from the site map service. So that I'm a bit confused. So the content which you are getting, so once you publish any item, you're getting that specific content on your webhook, right? In the web,
Correct. So,
yeah. So the content which you are receiving in your webhook, is it coming through the publish, right? So whichever item you are publishing, that specific item is coming into your webhook, right, body?
exactly. The webhook will give me the item ID as a payload. So that item ID I'll consume here. Like
Okay.
if you see, yeah, that item ID,
Yeah.
I'll get that as part of a webhook. Yeah, if you see, publish event request dot publisher options dot root item ID. So that webhook will give me the, let's say if I'm gonna publish this particular item, analytics, and this item ID will come through this particular webhook request body, and I'm consuming. So that's why if you see this if loop, if condition, if I'm getting through webhook item name called push Coveo event, and I'm getting that particular item ID to process further.
Okay. Then what you are trying to achieve through the sitemap service? That I'm a bit confused.
Oh, okay. So yeah, good question actually. So let's say I think if I do push all equals to true, and let's do this. So it's pushing all your content. So here, how I'm getting all of those pages, that's where, so you see many Caribbean, Norton, all these are going into Coveo. So how I'm getting them, all those pages, if you see push all pages, I'm getting all the pages from the sitemap service and looping through each one and pushing it to Coveo.
So,
Mhm.
my next question is, you are having different webhooks, right? So, or the same webhook is handling everything. So, right now you have
No,
shown me the push all pages. So, what is that? That's also
okay, there are two things. One is item ID. I mean, the push all is different. Push all doesn't need webhook. I mean, even if you wanted to have, you can. But push all is like, let's say I'm new to Coveo, I'm trying to configure, and I want to push all my items in a single shot in the Coveo. So that's where the push all items will be utilized, and that push all how I'll be able to get all the pages using the sitemap service. That's kind of different, and you can have this particular push all equal. This is kind of rebuilding your entire index.
okay. So this method is called inside the webhook that you are trying to say, right? The push
This
all.
method is inside API. The API takes the webhook is different here.
Okay.
The webhook is ideally when you trigger a publish, the webhook will be triggered, and that webhook will call this API. Now what we are seeing. This API will take care of getting that item indexed into Coveo. Now push all is different. You can still configure that as a webhook, but I don't recommend. Like as and when on-demand purpose, you can just come and hit this API to get all your. It's kind of entire rebuilding, master rebuild index. So I'll do on demand purpose.
Okay, so in case if you do push all, right, in that case, when you publish the event, so the item ID doesn't make any significance, right? Because you're pushing everything.
Correct. I mean, I don't push all every time, right? Let's say I already now I did push all everything and it's pushed all the content, right? Now let's say I came here and I want to change the title of this one test, and now if I mean now how do I publish this? I just want to, I don't want to go with push all, right? I only want this particular item to get indexed with this updated title. So that's where when you just publish, right, publish item, and I'll have that particular this item ID, news item ID in my hand in this code, and then that only that item alone will get triggered for the indexing, right?
Okay. I was a bit confused between your push all and this webhook.
Consider push all as a entire master rebuild index. Webhook is on, like whenever you change any item or anything, you want only that particular item alone to push into Coveo with the updated content. So that's where webhook.
So that push all is called from which where? From where you are calling that push all method when it's get called, right? So from your code base, just I want to say.
Okay. So you see, yep. Happy to show. Handler.
Yeah, this is the webhook handler, right?
If request query push all pages.
Okay, that's I want to do. Okay.
Got yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
And this, yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any more questions? Any queries? Any doubts? Okay, we'll take it as no. Although you can, if you have, you can, ping Jagdish over LinkedIn. We will upload those who has joined late. We will upload the video soon on the YouTube channel. You can watch it. And thanks for joining.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.